You ever notice the moment you start to shine, the world shows up with a handout, not to clap, not to lift you up, but to take. There's a weight that comes with being wanted. People will smile in your face and measure your worth by what you can give. They don't always love you. They love what they can get from you. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life feeding the world while starving your own soul. But listen to me. Your value is not a vending machine. It's not a button people get to press whenever they feel hungry for your energy, your kindness, your talent. No, your value is strategy. It's power. It's meant to be used, not abused. You've got to learn to read the room, feel the shift in the air, and understand that this life is not always fair, but it's always real. You can either be the player or the piece. Either you use what they want to move, or you sit still while they play you. So the next time someone wants something from you, don't just give it. Know why they want it. Know who they are. And most of all, know who you are. Because once you do, the game changes. You ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift, but you didn't know why? Let me tell you something. That wasn't luck. That wasn't accident. That was you. Your presence changes the atmosphere. You might not even see it, but others do. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, it all adds up to something powerful. But here's the catch. Most people won't tell you that. They don't want you to know. Because if you realize the weight of your presence, the pull of your potential, you might stop giving it away for free. You might stop chasing validation and start demanding respect. And that's when they get nervous. That's when they backpedal. See, the world don't fear the loud. It fears the aware. Aware of your light. Aware of your strength. Aware that your very being is a force to be reckoned with. So stop dimming yourself to keep others comfortable. Stop shrinking to fit inside rooms that can't handle your full height. The moment you recognize what you carry, not just in talent, but in truth and soul, is the moment you stop begging for permission and start walking in purpose. You were never meant to be ordinary. You weren't built for the background. But somewhere along the way, life may have convinced you to stay small, to stay quiet. Maybe it was a parent who didn't see you, a friend who used you, a boss who overlooked you. But I need you to hear me now. They were blind, not right. They didn't fail to choose you because you lacked something. They failed because they couldn't recognize gold even when it was glowing. You think stars compete with each other in the sky? No, each one just shines. And the world adjusts. That's how you need to move. Not with arrogance, but with assurance. You don't need to force your way into spaces where you're misunderstood. Let them misjudge. Let them talk. What matters is you know what you're carrying. Because when you truly recognize your power, feel it, own it, you stop auditioning for roles in other people's stories. You write your own. And suddenly, you're not asking for the seat, you're building the table. Now, here's the thing they don't teach you in school. Your power isn't just in what you do, it's in who you are. People will try to measure you by outcomes, by results, by what's on the scoreboard. But your value is never tied to performance. You don't become powerful when the world sees your worth. You become powerful the moment you do. The moment you stop looking outside for something you were born with inside. Look at your life. The way you've survived things others wouldn't. The way you've picked yourself up after disappointment tried to bury you. That strength didn't come from nowhere. That resilience is not random. That's evidence of your power. And the more you start to pay attention to what you've overcome, the lies, the silence, the pain, the more you begin to understand the level of fire that lives in your soul. So no, don't tell me you're weak. Don't tell me you're average. I've seen what average looks like. And it doesn't walk with your history. It doesn't carry your scars. You're not average. You're built different. And it's time to start acting like it. The problem is, too many people are waiting for someone to validate what's already real. They're waiting for a title, a promotion, a compliment before they believe in their own greatness. Let me tell you something. If a crown has to be placed on your head before you feel like royalty, you'll be a slave to approval your whole life. And that's not power. That's prison. Your power isn't unlocked by applause. It's awakened by self-respect. It's when you wake up and say, I'm not begging anymore. I'm not explaining anymore. I'm not shrinking anymore. That's when things shift. Because you can have the talent, the skills, the resources, but if your mind hasn't caught up to your reality, you'll still live like you're less. It's not about ego, it's about alignment. You have to start aligning how you see yourself with how powerful you really are. And that means stop tolerating what drains you. Stop entertaining what confuses you. Stop accepting crumbs when you were made for the feast. Power begins the moment you realize you don't have to wait to be chosen. You already are. People will always have opinions about you. Some will love you, some will hate you, and some will just want to use you. That's the truth. But here's the kicker. None of that defines your power. Not 1 ounce. You don't need a majority vote to be worthy. You don't need consensus to be enough. Power comes when you stop living for the applause and start living for the assignment. What were you called to do? What's burning in your gut that won't go away? That's where the fire is. That's where your identity lives. And if you're too busy trying to please everybody else, you'll miss the voice that matters most, your own. That quiet whisper inside that says, you've got more, don't settle, don't fold. And sometimes recognizing your power means disappointing people. It means saying no to what's comfortable and yes to what's calling you higher. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. So let them talk, let them question. You don't have to explain your growth to people committed to misunderstanding you. Keep walking, keep shining. And when they finally catch up, if they ever do, they'll see what you knew all along. You were the light the whole time. You ever seen someone water down their brilliance just to be liked, just to fit in? That's what happens when you forget your power. You start trading authenticity for acceptance. But let me tell you something. Anything you have to lose yourself to gain, it's not worth having. Because the moment you abandon your truth, your strength fades. Not because it's gone, but because it's hiding behind who you're pretending to be. You want your power back, start being real again. Start walking in rooms without adjusting your soul to make other people comfortable. Speak when it's uncomfortable, stand when it's unpopular. That's power, not performance. Presence. And the right people, the real ones, they'll respect that. The ones who don't, let them go. Because your light will always be too much for people who are addicted to the dark. Don't apologize for being intense. Don't apologize for being passionate. You weren't born to blend in, you were born to break molds. And when you finally accept that, when you own that, suddenly you stop chasing belonging and you start creating spaces where truth can breathe. I need you to stop letting history hold your destiny hostage. Just because you were overlooked doesn't mean you're unworthy. Just because you were doubted doesn't mean you're not destined. What happened to you does not cancel what's in you. You might have been broken, but that doesn't mean you're beyond repair. You might have been used, but that doesn't mean you're disposable. The pain you carry is not a limitation. It's a credential. It proves you've been through something. It proves you didn't quit. And that right there is a sign of your power. You can't fake that kind of strength. You earn it. You live through it. And once you do, nobody can take it from you. But only if you stop letting your past define your future. You've got to forgive what didn't go right, release who didn't show up, and remember that every scar has a story, but it doesn't have to be the final chapter. You're still here. That means there's more. That means your power is not done rising. And maybe, just maybe, the thing that almost broke you is the very thing that built the warrior you're becoming. There's a reason people are drawn to you. You might not see it, but they do. They feel it. The way you listen, the way you show up, the way you give even when you're tired. That's not weakness. That's power. Quiet power, subtle power, but real power. And because you make it look easy, people forget how much it costs you. They forget you bleed behind that smile. They forget you carry weights they can't see. But listen, just because your strength is quiet doesn't mean it's not there. And just because others take it for granted doesn't mean it's not valuable. In fact, your ability to keep moving in silence, to keep showing up when no one claps, that's elite level strength. That's a power most people can't comprehend. So stop underestimating your own capacity just because others don't acknowledge it. You don't need applause to be powerful. You don't need recognition to be real. Power is when you keep doing right, even when it goes unnoticed. And trust me, The right people, the right opportunities, they'll find you, but only if you keep standing in your truth long enough to be seen. Sometimes recognizing your power means walking away, not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to stop settling. You can't step into your full power if you're still clinging to places that make you small, to people who only love you when you're convenient, to situations that reward your silence more than your voice. No, your power demands space. And sometimes that space is only created through separation. That doesn't mean you're cold, it means you're clear. Clear on what you deserve, clear on what you bring, clear on where you're headed. And when you get that clear, distractions start to lose their grip. Drama starts to look silly. Games become boring because your vision becomes louder than your emotions. That's when the shift happens. You stop reacting and you start responding. You stop chasing and you start attracting. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally became who you were all along. That's power. And the world can feel it when you walk like you've got nothing to prove and everything to protect. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to flex to be respected. Real power is calm. It's quiet. It's steady. It doesn't need to announce itself. It shows itself in how you treat people, in how you carry your pain, in how you move when no one's watching. Don't let the noise of the world convince you to become something you're not, just to keep up, just to get ahead. No, keep your integrity, keep your depth, keep your dignity. Because while everyone else is chasing hype, you're building something solid, something sacred. And when the dust settles, and it always does, the ones who stayed real will be the ones still standing. That's power. Not the temporary kind, not the loud, flashy kind, but the kind that lasts. The kind that doesn't need an audience to shine. And when you learn to love that kind of power, when you learn to trust your own voice over the crowd, that's when you become dangerous. Not in a harmful way, but in a holy way. Because now, nothing can move you that doesn't deserve to. You ever been in a room with someone who said all the right things, but something just didn't sit right? Like their words were honey, but the tone carried a chill? That's not paranoia, that's intuition. And if you've been through enough life, enough betrayal, enough lessons, you start learning. Words lie, but energy doesn't. See, anybody can say, I got your back. That's easy. But where are they? When your back's against the wall, that's where truth shows up. You've got to stop falling for sweet talk and start paying attention to behavior. People will sell you dreams while quietly plotting detours. They'll praise you publicly and envy you privately. And the only thing that protects you from being played is your ability to discern. Discernment isn't suspicion, it's wisdom. It's spiritual armor. It's knowing that not everyone who walks with you is walking for you. Some are just walking next to you until their opportunity comes. Don't ignore the red flags just because they come with a smile. And don't silence your gut because it feels inconvenient. You've got power in your perception. And the moment you trust it, you stop getting surprised and start getting prepared. Discernment is your survival skill, your protection in a world full of masks. Everyone has an agenda, and that's not always a bad thing, but you've got to learn to spot the difference between those who see you as a person and those who see you as a platform. Because some folks don't love you, they love what being near you does for them. Proximity to power is attractive, but attraction ain't loyalty. There are people who will stick around as long as the benefits are flowing. The moment you set a boundary, the moment you say no, the mask drops. And it hurts, I know. Because you wanted to believe the words. You wanted to believe the laughter meant something. But don't let that pain make you bitter. Let it make you better. Let it sharpen your vision. Let it teach you to listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. People reveal themselves in silence, in patterns, in the little slips they hope you don't catch. Start catching them. Start asking, what do they really want? Not with paranoia, but with purpose. Because when you discern their intent, you protect your peace. It's not enough to know what someone says. You've got to know what they're after. Are they building with you, or are they using you to build themselves? See, real ones add value. They lift when you're heavy. They give without keeping score. But opportunists, they're strategic. They calculate. They play the long game of manipulation. And they'll play roles just to stay close. I'm proud of you. I got you. You're like family. All beautiful phrases until you realize they come with invisible strings. And when you don't respond the way they expect, those strings tighten. That's when the guilt trips start. That's when the mood shifts. That's when you realize this was never about love, it was about leverage. So you've got to be wise. You've got to recognize when someone's connection is conditional. If their support disappears when your usefulness runs out, they were never with you in the first place. And that's okay. Don't chase fake love. Don't beg for consistency. Just see it for what it is and move accordingly. When you start discerning motives, you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't offer you a bandage. Let's talk about timing, because motives reveal themselves over time. You don't always see someone's intentions on day one. Sometimes it takes a storm to see who's really there. And the sad truth is, some people don't show their hand until they think you've lost yours. That's when their true face appears, the jokes get sharper, the tone gets colder, and you realize they were waiting for your fall. So now when people come close, I don't just ask, what are you saying? I ask, what are you showing me over time? Because consistency is the real truth teller. Anybody can be kind once. Anybody can post support online. But who keeps showing up when the cameras are off? Who still claps when it's your moment, not theirs? That's how you discern. Watch how they act when you win. Watch how they treat you when you... That's where loyalty lives. Because people can fake a moment, but they can't fake a pattern. And if you learn to track the pattern instead of clinging to potential, you'll save yourself years of heartache and disappointment. Not every I believe in you is rooted in love. Some of it is rooted in control. And you better believe there's a difference. Some people uplift you just enough to keep you dependent. They want you to shine, but only under their light. The moment you start moving without them, their tone changes. Suddenly you're arrogant. You're distant. You've changed. No, you've just grown past their control. That's when the manipulation shows. Discernment helps you see that love doesn't need ownership. Real support empowers you to soar, even if it means you outgrow them. And that's hard to accept, because we want to believe everyone in our circle wants to see us win, but not all of them do. Some just want to feel like they're responsible for your success. So when you succeed without them, their ego takes it personally. That's not your fault, but it is your lesson. Start listening to the undercurrent in people's praise. Start watching their face when you rise. If their words are warm, but their energy shifts when you elevate, believe the energy. Because discernment isn't disrespect. There are people who study your emotions just to learn how to steer them. That's why discernment isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. You need a deep inner wisdom that can hear between the words. Because manipulation is subtle, it's crafted, it's intentional. And if you're not anchored, you'll confuse pressure for care. You'll confuse flattery for love. You'll start calling control concern. No, you need to train your heart to pause and ask, what's behind this? Not everything that feels good is good. Some people will overgive so they can later overdemand. They'll do favors to build credit, not connection. And one day they'll try to cash in with guilt. That's not love. That's leverage. Discernment lets you say, thank you, but I see you. It's not about paranoia, it's about clarity. Because when your heart is pure, it's easy to believe the best in everyone. But that kind of heart needs protection, not walls, but wisdom. And that wisdom will whisper to you, they're not here for you. They're here for what you can do. Learn to hear that whisper. It might just save your future. Here's the real test. Watch how people act when you have nothing to offer, when the favor runs out, when the benefits dry up. That's where the truth lives. Some folks were never your friend, they were your fan. Some folks weren't your partner, they were your parasite. And when you stop feeding them, they show you just how hungry they really were. Not for connection, but for control. Discernment says, I won't wait until the betrayal to wake up. It says, I'm watching now. I'm listening now. It doesn't mean you treat everyone like an enemy. It means you give people space to show you who they are without giving them full access to everything you are. Trust is not a gift, it's an investment. You don't hand it out, you build it over time, through behavior, through storms. So when someone new comes along with golden words, beautiful energy, perfect presentation, smile. But watch. Because motives aren't always loud. Sometimes they're dressed in charm, dipped in empathy, and wrapped in opportunity. And the only thing that'll reveal them is your discernment. Let's talk about manipulation. The most dangerous kind is the kind that comes disguised as love. You know what I'm talking about. The people who make you feel obligated instead of honored, who remind you what they did for you every time you try to breathe on your own. That's not love, that's leverage. Discernment helps you see the difference. Love doesn't keep score. Love doesn't guilt trip. Love doesn't use kindness as currency. So many people are trapped in relationships, personal, professional, even spiritual, where they confuse control for connection. But when you're walking in discernment, you start recognizing those chains. You start questioning, why do I always feel drained after talking to this person? Why do I feel smaller around them? That's not coincidence. That's a signal. And when you learn to honor that signal, you take your power back. You stop being guilted into staying where you don't grow. You stop feeling obligated to those who only show up when they're in need. And you start living from a place of clarity. That's when your relationships shift from transactions to truth. And that's when peace begins. Discernment also means being honest about your patterns. Sometimes the reason we keep getting played is because we keep ignoring our instincts. We override the signs. We romanticize potential. We excuse red flags because we crave connection. That's human. But it's also dangerous. You can't keep blaming others for deceiving you when you were the one who handed them the map to your vulnerabilities. You told them what hurt you. You showed them where you were soft, and they used it. That's not your fault, but it is your warning. Heal the part of you that feels the need to explain your worth to people who never intended to value it. Start listening when your soul whispers, something's off. You're not crazy. You're not paranoid. You're tuned in. And the more you honor that inner alarm, the more you attract people who come with peace instead of pressure. Discernment is not about distrust. It's about alignment. Knowing who's for you, knowing who's not. And making no apologies for choosing wisdom over wishful thinking. When you walk in discernment, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop jumping into every opportunity that knocks, because now you ask, what's the cost? What do they really want? What's their track record? How do they treat people when the cameras aren't rolling? You're no longer desperate for yeses, because you've learned the power of selective access. Not everyone gets your energy. Not everyone deserves your trust. And the more you grow, the more you'll realize people come with patterns, not promises. Discernment lets you read between the lines. It lets you see that not every compliment is sincere, that not every alliance is genuine, and that sometimes the greatest move you can make is to pause, to pray, to observe. Because when you stop chasing surface level connections, you make space for real ones. The kind built on truth, not tactics. The kind that doesn't shift with seasons. And once you taste that kind of relationship, you won't settle for anything less. And here's the most powerful truth of all. When you master discernment, you stop being afraid of letting people go. You stop fearing loss, because you understand that what's meant for you doesn't need manipulation to stay. And what's not for you, no matter how dressed up it looks, will eventually drain you. Discernment gives you freedom. The freedom to say, I see you, I wish you well, but I choose me. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, out of peace, out of wisdom, because now you don't need to be liked by everyone. You don't need to be needed. You just need to be aligned. And that kind of alignment, it brings a power that silence can't touch and chaos can't shake. So walk forward, eyes open, heart guarded, spirit wise. Let the world say what it wants, but you move with purpose, with truth, with discernment. And in doing so, you'll stop being played and start being prepared. They'll smile at you while they study your every move, not because they care, but because they're calculating. This world doesn't just run on talent or heart. It runs on power plays, on leverage, on who knows how to move. If you don't learn to play the game, you become the game. And when you're the game, you get played over and over again. Used, drained, discarded. Not because you're weak, but because you're unaware. You believed that being good was enough. That showing up, working hard, and staying kind would shield you. But in rooms where decisions are made, goodness without strategy is a weakness. You've got to wake up. Not with bitterness, but with awareness. You've got to start thinking 3 moves ahead. Start reading what's not said. Start realizing that everyone's playing something. Some for power, some for position, some just to survive. So what are you playing for? Your peace? Your legacy? Your freedom? Whatever it is, you better learn the rules, learn the board, and learn the players. Because the moment you stop being intentional, someone else writes your story for you. And trust me, they'll write it to benefit them. Playing the game doesn't mean selling your soul. It means protecting it. It means knowing how to navigate rooms where smiles don't always mean safety. It means knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It means understanding power, not abusing it, but not ignoring it either. See, people will mistake your kindness for ignorance. They'll think your patience means passivity. That's why you've got to surprise them. Let them underestimate you. Let them think you don't know what's going on. But while they're sleeping on you, you're studying them, watching, learning, adapting. You don't need to announce your strategy, just execute it. Because the loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. Control is quiet. Control is steady. Control is knowing who you are and where you're going, even when the room tries to define you. And you don't need approval, you need alignment. You don't need applause, you need awareness. Play the game, but play it on your terms, with integrity, with vision, with precision, because when you know who you are, no one can use you without your permission. The people who play you the hardest are often the ones who pretend to be on your team. They'll flatter you, mirror you, make you feel seen, all while plotting their next move. That's not paranoia, that's discernment. Don't ignore your gut. Don't silence your instinct just to keep the peace. If something feels off, it is off. But here's the key. Don't react. Respond. Don't let emotion cloud your execution. You're not here to be reactive. You're here to be resilient. And that means keeping your eyes open, even when your heart wants to trust. Not everyone deserves access to your strategy. Not everyone deserves to know your next move. Keep your circle tight and your vision tighter. Don't broadcast your breakthroughs. Build in silence. Let your results be your rebuttal. Because while they're talking, you're moving. While they're playing small games, you're building a kingdom. Play the long game. Think bigger. Think broader. Think beyond the moment. Because your purpose wasn't meant to be gambled with. It was meant to be guarded fiercely, wisely, unapologetically. The game is psychological. It's emotional. It's spiritual. And if you're not grounded, you'll lose yourself trying to win. You become who they want you to be. Agreeable, predictable, pliable. But you weren't built to be molded by other people's agendas. You were built to shape things, to disrupt patterns, to shift atmospheres. And to do that, you've got to be rooted. You've got to know your values, your boundaries, your voice. Because the moment you lose those, you've lost the game, even if you look like you're winning. So stay centered, stay still, not inactive, intentional. Let them move first. Let them reveal themselves. Then you decide, not out of fear, not out of pressure, out of clarity. That's what makes a player powerful. Not how many moves they make, but how few wasted ones they allow. Play with poise, move with meaning. And always remember, the game was never about who moves the fastest. It's about who moves the wisest. Never play a game where you don't know the prize. So many people are running, grinding, hustling, but for what? For approval, for status, for a seat at someone else's table? That's how you get played. That's how you end up building someone else's empire while yours crumbles. You've got to ask yourself, what am I really after? Is it peace, purpose, freedom, legacy, then build that. Stop letting distractions dress up as opportunities. Not everything that glitters is gold. Some of it is bait. And if you're not clear on your destination, you'll chase everything and catch nothing. So define your win. Set your standard. Clarify your why. Because when you know what you're playing for, the game doesn't control you. You control how you play it. And that's the difference between being a piece on the board and being the one who sets it. You weren't made to be moved at will. You are made to move with will. Some people will test you just to see how easily you fold. They'll push your buttons, question your worth, bait your ego. Not because they're strong, but because they sense you are. And when you rise, they feel small. So they play you. Subtly. Quietly. But you're not here to flinch every time pressure shows up. You're not here to prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The real ones don't need convincing. They see you. The rest, let them look confused. You've got bigger moves to make. You don't need to show your power. You need to own it. Quietly, completely, authentically. Because real power doesn't panic. Real power doesn't need to clap back. Real power smiles, moves, and keeps building. So when they play petty, you play purpose. When they move emotional, you move strategic. Because this isn't about ego. This is about elevation. And you don't elevate by reacting. You elevate by mastering the moment. The moment you stop needing to be liked is the moment you start being dangerous. Not reckless, rooted. Because when people can't manipulate your need for approval, you become untouchable. That's what playing the game really means. Understanding where your power comes from, and it doesn't come from clout. It comes from clarity, from knowing who you are. Even when the world tries to define you by roles, titles, mistakes, you don't have to shrink for comfort. You don't have to apologize for your confidence. You don't have to dim your light so others don't feel exposed. Let them feel it. Let them adjust. Because the more you try to soften your truth for others, the more you betray your own. But when you play the game with truth, you don't just win, you shift the whole board. That's how legends are made. Not by blending in, by standing tall, by standing true. You've got to learn how to see people, not just hear them. Because words are cheap in this game. People say what you want to hear, promise what they'll never deliver, flatter when they need something. That's the game. But you watch patterns. You study actions. You observe what they do when no one's watching. Because real character doesn't lie in moments, it lies in habits. And once you learn how to observe without emotional attachment, you gain power. You stop overcommitting, you stop over-explaining, you stop falling for potential instead of patterns. There will be moments when silence is your strongest move. When everyone's looking for a reaction and you give none. That's power. That's presence. That's strategy. Because not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult requires a comeback. Some things are beneath your mission. Learn how to sit in your strength. Learn how to master the pause, because sometimes the greatest move is restraint, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Let them think they won. Let them underestimate. While they're playing checkers, you're mapping chess. You don't need to defend what you're building. You just need to build. Quiet power shakes rooms without noise. And you've got quiet power. Use it. Own it. Let it lead. The goal is never just to win the game. The goal is to transcend it. To rise so high they can't reach you with their petty strategies, with their ego traps, with their emotional manipulation. You're not here just to survive this world. You're here to shift it. But you can't shift what you're still stuck in. So rise, think higher, move cleaner, operate from principle, not pressure. Play the game until you've learned all its rules, then flip the board. Build your own system. Define your own value. Make your rules. That's how empires start. That's how movements begin. Not by playing forever, but by knowing when to play, how to play, and when to rewrite the entire game. Playing the game is about balance, knowing when to adapt and when to stand firm, when to speak and when to be still, when to give and when to guard. It's an art, not a performance. And every move you make teaches people how to treat you. So teach them wisely. Set the tone. Set the tempo. Walk like someone who knows they're not here by accident. You're not here to chase. You're here to choose. And choice is where your power lives. So choose clarity over chaos, purpose over pressure, wisdom over impulse. That's how you master the game. That's how you rise without apology. They never saw the nights you cried, the days you wanted to give up, the moments your soul screamed for peace, but all you got was more pressure. They don't know the weight you carry, the battles you face silently, the storms you've walked through alone. But I need you to understand this. Your pain is not your prison, it's your power. Every scar, every wound, every heartbreak has shaped you into something unbreakable. Not perfect, not untouchable, but undeniable. The world will try to define you by what broke you, but what they don't realize is that what broke you also built you. Your pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation for clarity, for strength, for purpose. So stop hiding it. Stop running from it. Let it speak. Let it fuel you. Let it sharpen you. Because inside that pain lives a fire that can't be faked. That kind of fire changes rooms. That kind of fire changes lives. Let them doubt. Let them dismiss. But while they sleep on you, you're transforming. Quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. That pain, it didn't bury you. It gave you the soil to grow. See, the world teaches us to numb pain, to distract from it, to push it down, smile through it, pretend it's not there. But pain ignored doesn't disappear, it multiplies. It festers. It turns into bitterness, regret, self-doubt. You want to take your power back. Sit with your pain. Face it. Don't fear it. Understand it. Pain has wisdom. It teaches you who's real. It shows you what matters. It carves out compassion. It teaches resilience. The ones who've been through it and still stand tall, those are the ones you listen to. Because their strength isn't surface, it's earned. So don't cover your scars. Don't downplay your survival. Wear it like armor. Let it remind you of every moment you thought you wouldn't make it and still did. That's where your power lives. Not in pretending you've never struggled, but in standing proud because you have. You are not broken. You are not damaged. You are battle tested. That pain was not a sign of weakness. It was the fire forging something extraordinary inside you. Wisdom doesn't come from comfort. It comes from the fight, from falling and getting back up, from trying, failing, and learning, from betrayal, from silence, from watching everything you thought you needed fall apart and realizing you're still breathing. That kind of wisdom can't be taught. It's felt. It's lived. And when you've lived it, you don't move the same. You don't waste time explaining yourself to people who will never understand. You don't chase what doesn't feed your soul. You don't beg for love that doesn't see your worth. You move different because you see different. You don't just hear people, you read them. You don't just react, you respond with clarity. And that clarity, that's your weapon, that's your advantage. That's how you stop being manipulated, overlooked, discarded. Because you've become dangerous in the best way, not because you fight harder, but because you've healed deeper. You've studied yourself, you've studied others, and now you don't move from pain, you move from power that pain gave you. People will try to shame you for your past, for your breakdowns, for the things you had to do just to survive. Let them talk. They don't know your story. They weren't there on the nights you cried into the darkness asking God why it had to be this way. They didn't see how you kept going when quitting would have been easier. And yet you rose. Not because life handed you grace, but because you fought for it. You bled for your peace. You battled for your joy. And now you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Slowly, boldly, loudly, quietly, on your terms. That kind of transformation intimidates people because they watched you suffer and assumed you'd stay small. But pain woke up something in you. It made you rebuild. Not the old you, but a version stronger, wiser, clearer. That's why you walk with your head high now. Not in arrogance, but in reverence for what it took just to be here. That pain didn't destroy you. It revealed you. You want to become unstoppable? Stop seeing pain as punishment. Start seeing it as a tool. Every time life knocked you down, it handed you something, a lesson, a truth, a new level of self-respect. The pain was your teacher. It taught you who you are when everything else is stripped away. It taught you to fight for yourself, to speak up, to let go. And most importantly, it taught you that healing is not weakness, it's warfare. It's rebellion. It's saying, you may have tried to break me, but I'm still here. And now you're armed with wisdom. You've got sharper instincts. You don't move out of desperation anymore. You move with direction. That's power, real power, not loud, not flashy, rooted. And the more you let your pain inform your purpose, the more you become a force that nothing can stop. There's a version of you that pain tried to bury, a version you didn't think you'd ever meet again. But look at you. Finding your voice, finding your rhythm, finding your fire. That's what healing looks like. It's messy, it's hard, but it's worth it. You're reclaiming pieces of yourself you thought were gone forever. You're realizing that the pain didn't make you less. It made you more aware, more compassionate, more unshakable. And now your voice has depth. Your silence has weight. Your presence carries truth. That's the beauty of pain. It doesn't just give you empathy. It gives you authority. When you speak, it's not theory. It's not guesswork. It's earned. And that kind of wisdom can't be ignored. So keep rising, keep speaking, keep walking like you survived something, because you did. Every time you turn pain into power, you flip the script on your past. You become the author, not the victim, the creator, not the casualty. Your life stops being something that happened to you and becomes something that rises through you. That shift, that's freedom. That's ownership. That's how you reclaim your story. By refusing to let the worst moments define you. By choosing to make meaning out of the mess. By deciding that your purpose is bigger than your pain. And once you make that decision, really own it, everything changes. You stop settling, you stop shrinking, you stop apologizing for your presence. You know who you are now. Not just what you've been through, but what you've become because of it. You weren't meant to be fragile. You were meant to be forged. That's what pain does. It forges fire. It refines you. It makes you conscious of your limits, then dares you to break them. The pain taught you boundaries. It taught you discernment. It taught you patience. And now you walk with the weight of wisdom. You don't give access to everyone. You don't overextend. You protect your peace. You value your energy because you've learned through every fall, every betrayal, every heartbreak, that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. That is power. The power to choose, to preserve, to evolve. And you earned it, not through ease, but through endurance. Your wisdom is your weapon. Use it. Speak from it. Lead with it. When the world tries to confuse you with noise, your clarity becomes your compass. You see through manipulation. You move with intention. You make decisions not from fear, but from truth. That makes you lethal, not in destruction, but in discernment. You're not moved by drama. You're not triggered by chaos. You're steady, focused, purposeful. And that's the kind of power they can't steal. Let others chase trends and attention. You chase truth. You live it. And that truth makes you unstoppable. You will look back on the moments that tried to break you and thank them. Not because they were fair, not because they were easy, but because they gave you access to a version of yourself you never would have met without them. The strong you, the bold you, the wise you, the real you. That's what pain did. It peeled back every layer that wasn't rooted in truth. It stripped the illusions, and what was left? You. Pure, powerful, unfiltered. So hold your head high, not because life has been kind, but because you overcame, because you chose to heal, and because you now carry a weapon far greater than pride. Wisdom forged in fire. We've walked through fire together, through pain, power, wisdom, and war, through silence, betrayal, triumph, and resilience. You felt every word because you've lived every lesson. And now it's time to understand what this journey has really been about. It's about ownership, owning your strength, owning your story, owning every scar, every setback, every ounce of growth that came from your darkest hours. You're not who you were when this started. You're not broken. You're rebuilt, stronger, sharper, wiser. You've been tested in ways most wouldn't understand, but you don't need them to understand. You didn't go through that pain to become a victim. You went through it to become a weapon of purpose. From the moment you began discerning motives and not just words, you stopped being controlled. You stopped letting people smile in your face while planning your downfall. You began to see with clarity, with power, with the wisdom of someone who's been through hell and made it out alive. And that clarity gave birth to boundaries, not walls to isolate, but doors you now control. You decide who enters. You decide what gets your energy. And that decision, that's not cruelty. That's self-respect. Because when you set boundaries without apology, you declare to the world, I finally know my worth. You learned how to be strategic with your yes. No more people-pleasing. No more stretching yourself thin for people who wouldn't even blink if you disappeared. You now say yes with purpose, with intention. You give your time only to what aligns with your vision. And that vision is clear now. Because you've stopped playing the fool. You've stopped being the pawn. You've stopped letting others move you on a board you never asked to be on. Now you play the game. You move in silence. You observe. You calculate. You win. Not loudly, but intentionally. And most of all, you've turned pain into power and wisdom into weaponry. The tears didn't drown you, they cleansed you. The pain didn't shatter you, it sharpened you. Now every step you take is grounded in wisdom. Every choice you make is guided by lessons paid for in blood, sweat, and silence. And every time you speak, you carry the weight of survival, truth, and transformation. So here you are, not perfect, not untouched, but unshakable. Because now you understand that everyone wants something from you, but you've learned how to use it. You've learned how to play the game before it plays you. You've become the one they didn't see coming. The one who turned the pain into purpose, the struggle into strength, the silence into strategy. So walk forward now with power, with peace, with purpose. Let your past be your teacher, your wisdom be your armor, and your fire be your guide. The world has no idea what's coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for standing in your truth. God bless you. Keep rising, keep fighting, and never, never forget the power you carry.